Hello, I am Project Bill, the narrator and YouTuber here. Before we begin, I need to explain a few things because this isn't your standard sunshine and rainbows My Hero Academia story. This video will be rated 18 plus for blood, violence, and psychological horror, so watch at your own risk. And before we dive into the timeline, I will explain the abilities of the Null Quirk. This isn't just Aizawa's erasure, this is a god-tier power set broken down into 4 specific abilities. Number 1, Quirk Nullify. This works on all types of quirks, emitter, transformation, and mutant. If it's genetic, Izuku can shut it off. Number 2, Sensory Nullify. This basically nullifies senses. Sight, hearing, touch, pain. Izuku can turn these off for himself or his opponents depending on who he wants to torture or save. Number 3, Intangibility, or simply Kamui. Physical attacks pass right through him. Number 4, the strongest, All Nullify, LOP Null. This basically nullifies the laws of physics on Izuku or a target. Gravity, friction, inertia, he can delete them. However, this has a hard cap. He can only use it 3 times a day, and each use instantly drains 33% of his total stamina. It doesn't matter if he trains for 100 years, the cost is always 33%. If he uses it 3 times, he is running on fumes. Now that the introductions are done, let's begin what if Deku had a nullification quirk. We start this story in Japan, Musutafa City, in a random hospital like in the original. Inko Midoriya gives birth to a healthy baby boy named Izuku. Physically, he looks like the canon Izuku, green hair, freckles, but his eyes are different. They are a dull void-like green, lacking that usual shine. And just like in the original, Hisashi Midoriya decides the pressure of raising a child is too much. He leaves to get the milk, meaning Inko becomes a single mother. Inko raises Izuku alone, doing her best. And this is where we jump cut to a few years later to a 4-year-old Izuku. He still likes heroes, watching the news clips of All Might, but he doesn't love them. There is no fanatical screaming. In this scenario, he's basically a very quiet kid. Not shy, he holds eye contact perfectly fine, but he just listens, he observes. Other parents in the park envied Inko, saying things like, "He's so well behaved," or "I wish my brat would sit still like Izuku." But Inko, being a mother, felt a chill every time she looked into those void eyes. At age 4, Inko takes Izuku to the Quirk doctor, but in this timeline, we aren't seeing that creepy Dr. Garaki. No, we're seeing my OC, Dr. Zeno, who has a quirk analyzing quirk via touch. In the office, Dr. Zeno smiles and places his hand on Izuku's shoulder. All right, let's see what we have here. Usually, a description box pops up in Zeno's mind, detailing the quirk factor. But the moment he touches Izuku, Zeno's eyes widen. He recoils as if he touched a hot stove. "Doctor?" Inko asks, worried. "This is strange," Dr. Zeno mutters, sweating. "Mrs. Midoriya." A description box did pop up, but there were no explanations on it. It was just static, white noise. After some brainstorming, Dr. Zeno adjusted his glasses and explained, "Izuku definitely has a quirk. It's powerful, but right now, his quirk might be instinctively blocking me from reading it. It's nullifying my analysis. You'll just have to wait." Inko takes Izuku back home confused but hopeful. The next day, she drops him off at daycare. Izuku is playing with his little group of friends building a block tower in silence. That is, until Katsuki Bakugo comes along. Bakugo starts his whole shtick, showing off his explosions for the 50th time that hour. "I'm gonna be number 1. You extras get out of my way." He marches up to Izuku, kicking the blocks over. In the original, Izuku would cry. In this scenario, Izuku stands up. He doesn't activate a quirk yet, but he fights back. When Bakugo swings a right hook, Izuku doesn't flinch. He steps inside the guard and shoves Bakugo into the dirt. "You think you're tough, Deku?" Bakugo screams, humiliated. They brawl, and surprisingly, Izuku wins. Not because of power, but because he is calm, while Bakugo is a raging mess. The teachers separate them. Inko is called. Mitsuki is called.
In the principal's office, after some back and forth where Mitsuki is defending her brat, Izuku finally speaks up. His voice is flat, cutting through the noise. "He attacked me. That's all. I have nothing else to say." The adults pause. "But Izuku," the teacher starts, "stop acting like he didn't attack me first." Izuku interrupts, staring dead at the teacher. The room goes cold. The argument ends there because there's no arguing with a wall. And after that whole fiasco ended, this is where we now jump cut to 1 week later. Izuku is back at the playground. This is the moment. He's looking at a kid with a minor levitation quirk lifting a ball. Izuku feels a headache. He focuses on the ball. Drop. The ball falls. The quirk stops. Nullify. Unlocked. He hasn't unlocked the others yet, just this one. He uses it on his friend group. Due to them being slight idiots, they find it cool instead of scary. "Whoa, Izuku turned off my floating. Do it again." But to the other kids and the teachers watching from a distance, it was kind of cool, but mostly scary. It's an ability that says no to nature. And one person especially hated Izuku getting this attention: Bakugo. Bakugo marched over, hands crackling. "You think you're hot stuff with a shutting off quirk, Deku?" He tried to blast Izuku. Izuku just blinked. The explosions died instantly. Izuku made sure to remind Bakugo of what happened last week, physically. He didn't beat him up badly, just enough to establish the pecking order. Because of that, Bakugo stopped, for now. The next day, Izuku got his quirk listed as nullification on his ID and file. And after that, we now jump cut to 8 years later. We are now looking at a 12-year-old Izuku. In these 8 years, Izuku grew up, and well, life was fine really. Everything was going smoothly, calm. Izuku kept up with his grades, getting #1 consistently. In sports, he dominated, not through super strength, but because he could nullify the friction on his shoes to slide, or nullify the wind resistance, unconsciously tapping into LOP Null lightly. When Bakugo started his bully arc in middle school, Izuku stopped that instantly. First, with some talking. "Grow up, Katsuki." That didn't work, so a fight was it. And safe to say, Izuku won with intangibility alone. Bakugo threw a punch. It went through Izuku's face like he was a ghost. Then Izuku used sensory nullify. He turned off Bakugo's sight. Bakugo screamed, swinging at darkness, crying because he thought he had gone blind permanently. Izuku turned it back on and walked away. Safe to least to say, Izuku defeated Bakugo, and Bakugo stopped bullying kids after 1 week. This made Izuku famous in Aldera Junior High, but he stayed humble and nice. Well, nice in a distant way. This made him get good with the girls, but he still refused their advances. He was humble, but annoying him or getting him riled up wasn't nice. But 2 weeks after that, and Izuku getting another great score on a mock test, the jealousy boiled over. The parents of other students envied Izuku's performance and compared their children to Izuku starting from when Izuku was 8. "Why can't you be like Midoriya?" Izuku paid no mind to that. It was not his problem. But after those 2 weeks later, and Izuku getting another great score on a mock test, the jealousy boiled over. The parents of other students envied Izuku's performance and compared their children to Izuku starting from when Izuku was 8. "Why can't you be like Midoriya?" Izuku paid no mind to that. It was not his problem. But after those 2 weeks later, and Izuku getting another great score on a mock test, the jealousy boiled over. The parents of other students envied Izuku's performance and compared their children to Izuku starting from when Izuku was 8. "Why can't you be like Midoriya?" Izuku paid no mind to that. It was not his problem. But after those 2 weeks later, and Izuku getting another great score on a mock test, the jealousy boiled over. The parents of other students envied Izuku's performance and compared their children to Izuku starting from when Izuku was 8. "Why can't you be like Midoriya?" Izuku paid no mind to that. It was not his problem. But after those 2 weeks later, and Izuku getting another great score on a mock test, the jealousy boiled over. The parents of other students envied Izuku's performance and compared their children to Izuku starting from when Izuku was 8. "Why can't you be like Midoriya?" Izuku paid no mind to that. It was not his problem. But after those 2 weeks later, and Izuku getting another great score on a mock test, the jealousy boiled over. The parents of other students envied Izuku's performance and compared their children to Izuku starting from when Izuku was 8. Why can't you be like Midoriya? Izuku paid no mind to that. It was not his problem. But after those 2 weeks later, and Izuku getting another great score on a mock test, the jealousy boiled over. The parents of other students envied Izuku's performance and compared their children to Izuku starting from when Izuku was 8. Why can't you be like Midoriya? Izuku paid no mind to that. It was not his problem. But after those 2 weeks later, and Izuku getting another great score on a mock test, the jealousy boiled over. The parents of other students envied Izuku's performance and compared their children to Izuku.
What was that? Midnight asks, her fan lowered. Cementos leans forward. He didn't touch it. It just collapsed. Did he have a telekinesis quirk? No. Eraserhead speaks up from the corner, his eyes narrowed at the screen. That wasn't telekinesis. There was no push or pull. The object simply ceased to function as a structure. It defied physics. All Might is watching closely, sweating. He knows exactly what that was. Principal Nezu rewinds the footage, zooming in on Izuku's red eyes. Midoriya Izuku. Analysis nullification on his file. But that was godlike power. He didn't just destroy the robot, he commanded it to stop existing as a threat. Nezu takes a sip of tea, his paw trembling slightly. We need to keep a very close eye on this one. If that boy ever decided to become a villain, we wouldn't have a school left to defend. And that is where we end the entrance exam arc. Izuku has entered the lion's den, and he is already the apex predator. And now, we jump cut to 1 week later. The results are in. Izuku receives his letter from UA. In this timeline, we don't get the holographic All Might projection. Izuku opens the envelope, reads the paper that says you passed, rank 1, and tosses it in the trash. He doesn't need a video to tell him what he already knows. We skip the celebration dinner because Inko is terrified of Izuku's blank expression, and we jump straight to the first day of UA High. It is 6 a.m. Class doesn't start until 8:25 a.m. Izuku is standing at the towering gates of UA 2 hours early. He's wearing the standard gray uniform, but he wears it loosely, looking disheveled yet sharp. He stands there in silence, feeling a strange weight in his gut. It wasn't anxiety. He doesn't get anxious. It was an instinct, a feeling that the quiet days were over. He sighs, closing his eyes. Suddenly, the hairs on the back of his neck stand up. He senses a presence. Izuku turns around slowly. Standing there is a woman. Izuku's brain does a weird stutter for a second. Black? No, blue? No, bullshit hair color. It's black. Yes, black, Izuku thought to himself, finally settling on the color. The woman is tall, definitely taller than his 5'5" frame. She's wearing what looks like a trench coat over pajamas? Or maybe it's just really loose casual wear. It's the R-rated hero Midnight. She's staring at him, a playful smirk on her lips. And this scene won't be made because of the fact that the AI that is making the audio won't take this part of the text, but if you want to read it, then it's in the description. We jump cut to Class 1A. Izuku enters the room. He ignores the loud blonde exploding at the stiff guy with glasses, Bakugo and Ida doing their usual routine. Remove your foot from the desk. Huh? Make me. Izuku walks past them like they are ghosts. He takes the back seat near the window. He puts his head down on the desk, activating sensory nullification on himself to drown out Bakugo's screaming. Minutes pass. The door opens. Ochiko Ararka walks in. Oh, it's the plane boy, the one who... She stops. Izuku lifts his head, deactivating the nullification. His eyes are dead. Midoriya, he corrects her before she can finish. Right, Midoriya. I wanted to think... Zzz. The sound of a zipper cuts through the air. Shota Aizawa rolls into the room in his yellow sleeping bag. He stands up, unzips it, and stares at the class with bloodshot, dry eyes. It took you all 8 seconds to quiet down.
Time is limited. You kids are not rational. The class freezes. Aizawa pulls out a gym uniform. I'm your homeroom teacher, Aizawa. Put these on and meet me on the grounds. But what about the entrance ceremony, the orientation? Aizawa turns, his grin widening into something nightmarish. If you want to be heroes, you don't have time for leisurely events. UA is a freestyle school. He looks directly at Izuku in the back. And I get to run my class how I see fit. Today, we are doing a Quirk assessment test, and the student who ranks last will be judged as having zero potential and will be expelled immediately. The class erupts in panic. Expelled on the first day? Izuku stands up, grabbing his uniform. He feels Aizawa's eyes on him. He knows Aizawa has read his file. He knows Aizawa hates wildcards. Izuku walks past the teacher. Rational deception, Izuku mutters low enough for only Aizawa to hear. You won't expel anyone if the potential is there, but you will if you bore us. Aizawa's eyes narrow. He doesn't confirm or deny it. He just watches the boy with the void eyes leave the room. We jump cut to the PE grounds. The tests begin. 50-meter dash. Ida uses his engines, 3.04 seconds. Bakugo uses explosions, 4.13 seconds. Izuku steps up. He could run normally. He is peak human, but he needs to save energy for the big moments. He runs it naturally, clocking in at 5.5 seconds, above average but not god tier. He saves his 3 charges of Lop Nullify for when it counts. Grip strength. Shoji tips 540 kilograms. Izuku grips the device. He uses a minor nullification of resistance on the springs inside the machine. He squeezes. The machine creates an error noise because the internal mechanism offered 0 resistance. It reads error. Broken, Izuku says, tossing it back to a confused Aizawa. But then we get to the main event, the ball throw. Bakugo goes first. Die! 705.2 meters. He smirks at Izuku. Beat that, Deku. Aizawa calls Izuku up. Midoriya, you have a nullification quirk. How does that help you throw a ball? Izuku steps into the circle. He holds the ball. He looks at the sky. He looks at his stamina bar, currently at 100%. He takes a deep breath. Ability 4, all nullify. Target, gravity and air resistance. 33% stamina drain. Izuku feels the drain instantly. His vision blurs for a millisecond, his muscles seizing as a third of his energy evaporates. He forces himself to stay standing. The ball in his hand becomes an anomaly. It is no longer bound by earth. Izuku doesn't throw it hard. He just lets it go. He flicks his wrist upward. The ball floats. Then it accelerates. With no gravity to pull it down and no air friction to slow it down, it shoots upward like a bullet. It goes up and up and up. It pierces the clouds. Aizawa stares at his tablet. The number keeps climbing. 1,000 meters, 5,000 meters. It leaves the atmosphere. The device simply displays the symbol, infinity. Infinity, the class gasps. He didn't even use strength, Kaminari shouts. Izuku times around. He is sweating slightly, his face pale from the stamina drain, but his expression is unchanged. He looks at Bakugo, who is paralyzed with rage and confusion. Your turn was cute, Katsuki, but physics is just a suggestion. He walks back to the line. Aizawa stares at the infinity symbol, then at Izuku. He nullified the laws of physics themselves, Aizawa thinks, a chill running down his spine. 3 times a day limit implies a massive cost, but the destructive potential is illogical. Next, Aizawa grunts, trying to regain control of his class. But Bakugo snaps. Deku, you bastard! Tell me how you did that! Bakugo launches himself at Izuku, explosions popping in his palms. You're supposed to be a quirkless loser. Aizawa's scarf rises to stop him, but Izuku doesn't need a teacher. Izuku turns. His eyes flash red. Ability 2, Sensory Nullify. Target, Equilibrium. He doesn't turn off Bakugo's quirk, he turns off his balance. Bakugo, mid-sprint, suddenly feels like the world has flipped at 90 degrees. His inner ear shuts down. He faceplants into the dirt with a brutal thud, sliding to Izuku's feet. Izuku looks down at him. I told you in kindergarten, Katsuki. Stay down. And after Izuku said that, some more stuff happened. But in the end, everyone went back home, and in the following few days, Izuku made friends with Ochiko and Ida and a few others, until on the fourth day, the Izuku and the others were in Class 1A doing their own thing. Until, on the fourth day, the basic hero training begins. The door bursts open. I am here, coming through the door like a normal person. It's All Might. The class goes wild, but Izuku just leans back, unimpressed. He finds the volume unnecessary. All Might announces the battle trial and tells everyone to suit up. Young heroes, get changed and meet me at ground beta. And this is where we jump cut to the costume reveal. The students walk out. You have Araraka in her pink suit, Bakugo with his grenades, and Ida in his armor. Then Izuku steps out. He is wearing the Vigilante Alpha suit, dark gray body armor, combat boots with magnetic soles, a tattered gray scarf, and that terrifying skeletal mouthguard mask. He keeps his hood up, casting a shadow over his void green eyes. He looks like he's about to assassinate a political figure, not save citizens. Ochiko gulps. Deku, you look scary. Izuku adjusts his gloves. Fear is a tool. If the villains are scared, they make mistakes. All Might draws the lots. The first match will be Team A, heroes, versus Team D, villains. Bakugo grins, cracking his knuckles. Perfect, I get to kill the half-and-half bastard and the nerd. We jump cut to the building. The timer starts. Inside the entrance, Todoroki doesn't even look at Izuku. Listen, I don't need your help, just stay out of my way.